I'd like to welcome to the stage in no particular order. First of all, Heritage number 492. He signed for this club in 2019, now having played for them 120 times, scoring 308 points. This man is some player, let me tell you. Anthony Thackeray. Well, thanks. I'd like him to be joined by one of his teammates, another legend, this guy. I've loved watching this fella's career, I really have. And what a player, what a character. Heritage number 381, he signed for the club back in 2011, now having played 228 times, scoring 774 points. The legend that is Quentin Laulu Togaga'e. The next one, a privilege to have this person on stage. She's a women's team heritage number 2, playing for the club in their first ever game back in 2022 and ever since. Please welcome Tori Thomas. The next person, steady on, it's absolutely blathered already as well, that's what we like to see that. So I tell you what, you rolled that out very well, by the way. The next one, Heritage number 401, signed for the club in 2013, now having played for them 155 times, scoring 878 points, a chip off the old block. Please welcome Cory Aston. And last but not least, this guy is here with 2 hats on tonight. He's the chair of the trustees of the Eagles Foundation and a member of the Sheffield Eagles wheelchair team. Will you please welcome David Butler. Anthony, I'm going to start with you if that's okay. You've ended up becoming a legend of this club. I watched you playing for Halifax. I think you're an incredible player. But I think it seems that signing for Sheffield Eagles saw a kind of real renaissance in your career. What made you sign for Sheffield Eagles and what has it meant to you playing for this team?
Yeah, it was a conversation with Tubbs. Again, he can chat for the world as you all know, but really sold me the club. I remember meeting him and from that point it was sort of a rebuild that season. 2019 he had, there was about 12, 13, maybe 14 youth players. And I still wanted to compete and I still wanted to be at the top of the championship, and yeah, it really sold it to me, and yeah, the rest is history, mate.
It certainly is as well. I want to speak to you about, you've had a lot of incredible moments in your career, Thax, as well, but I was there for one of them. As a kid, pick up a rugby ball and you probably dream of playing at Wembley. You walked out at Wembley in the 1895 Cup. I saw you after the game, I chatted to you. It was quite emotional seeing you as well, but how can you kind of sum up a day like that to walk out on a big stage like the National Stadium of Wembley?
You really can't. Like, even now, when you say that now, it's still emotional. And I'm forever thankful for this club because that day meant so much to me. My lad got to walk out at Wembley that day as well, and oh God. Yeah, it's memories that will live with me forever, and you can't buy memories like that. Yeah, forever grateful for this club for that, even for just that moment. Yeah.
I've known you a long time, Thax. I can't tell you how chuffed I am that I made you cry on this stage tonight. I actually thought you were quite hard. You've just lost your image. No, you're not at all. But the year after. To be a rugby player was tough. It was probably tough for everyone that the pandemic came, and that must have been a tough time I think a lot of people don't kind of realise when you're a rugby player in a rugby environment in the dressing rooms with the lads, it must have been so disruptive and so kind of such a strange time as a player then.
Yeah, it was for everyone. But yeah, even more so. And when we got pulled back into training, it was surreal. Like, you had to train in small groups, you had to be tested. Obviously, we we was told we had to travel in separate cars. We didn't, obviously, the whole lads was travelling together.
Yeah, if you want to cut that bit out of video, that's fantastic as well.
Everyone broke the rules, didn't they?
Not really, no, but you
Yeah, but believe it or not, we had people coming down to the gym to make sure that our car park was there was a space between each car and stuff, and was like, we're all breathing the same air. It was surreal, but yeah, it was nuts. You didn't really, in pre-season, you get to build a bond with your teammates, and you didn't really get that because you was training in small groups. Yeah, surreal, and it was madness really. I think we played 6 or 7 games that year, and then obviously the season got cut short, so yeah.
It was mad that really. You weren't allowed to travel in your car, but you could go on pitch and just start like smashing everyone and full on getting into the faces as well.
Yeah, licking people and stuff.
I know you're quite fond of Quentin Laulu Togaga'e outside. How good was it after, you know, lockdown got lifted and you could start necking him again?
Highlight of my life, that. Nah.
You proper love it. I don't know. I kind of wax lyrical about you as a player, Thax, but this guy at the side of you, mate, he's just been an unbelievable player.
Yeah, phenomenal. And again, a legend of the club. And I remember when he first came over, didn't know too much about him. I was a witness at the time, and I think he'll still remember it. He palmed me to go through, and I was like, "Who's this guy?" I couldn't get near him, and he was flick passing, and I was like, "Wow, who's this kid?" But yeah, absolutely phenomenal.
No, I mentioned earlier about players playing at so many different grounds. I think in your time playing for Sheffield Eagles, I think you played at five different grounds. Things are moving in the right direction now, and this club is certainly going places. It must be strange, tough at times.
Yeah, tough, but do you know, like as a player, you go through a lot in pre-season, and some people have already touched on, you're not just strong physically, you're strong mentally, and you just crack on with it, you just get on with it. As most of you know in this room, I was probably done, and I announced I was going to retire 2 years ago. And what kept us going...
Is that when you got that big payoff and then you decided to come back?
So Tubby again dragging me back every train session, dragging me up in the stands. But no, you sort of like you build a real strong bond, and that's what's kept us going. And since I joined the club, it's built on year and year, and yeah, things are going in a really good direction here.
It's nice to hear that as well. I want to mention young Cory there. I remember seeing him when he was come to Shea as a kid, just watching Halifax against Sheffield. I think he's developed into an outstanding talent. He's some player, young Cory. Well, he's not really young anymore, is he? But I think it's your tash hasn't grown fully, which makes me think he's still around that. He will fill out. My wife's just has done recently. I think Cory is I love watching him actually. I think he's a talented lad.
He's very talented, yeah. Like you said, when he came up, he's a chip off the old block, and he can be a leader of this club for years to come as well.
It's nice to hear that as well, because that's not what he said to me in car park. I just thought I'd tell you out there as well. Put it all together, a club legend, Anthony Thackeray. Quentin, I tell you what, mate, it's so good to have you on this stage. I want to speak to you about your time playing for the club, but so good to see you looking so well. I know it's been a tough period of your life, Quentin.
Yeah, it's a little bit. This club means a lot to me. I came over when I was 26 years old. My son, I bought him tonight. He's an old man now. He was 6 back then, so I was only supposed to come for 2 years. 13 years later, I'm still in England, so a lot of that's got to do with Tori. He made my family feel welcome. Also the playing group around that time as well. So, like I said, man, I always wanted to come back to the club. I was here for 6 years. I left for a few years, and my goal was to come back to the club and try to retire here. And I'm just happy to be back.
And it's so good to have you back as well, Quentin, as well. I want to mention your son there as well. He said when he came over and that, just a little lad, you actually got to play against him. That must have been the strangest feeling ever.
That was the worst week of my life.
Really? Yeah.
Because my wife kept telling me if anything happens to me, then nothing will happen in the bedroom anymore. So my son's not supposed to hear that, but yeah. So that hasn't ever since.
And you didn't hit him, things went well, so how did that night go?
No, I went really well that night. It was weird, like the whole week, and obviously playing against him. But we only crossed paths once when I made a break, and he tackled me to stop me from scoring a try. So that was the only time we crossed paths, and the only reason why I let him tackle me, so I could do something.
I suspect this story's not going to make it onto the official video this time. Joking aside, you must be very, very proud of your son as well. It's so good to see him do so well. Phoenix Laulu Togaga'e, that is the most exotic name I've ever heard, and I think if he does play for Sheffield and you get that bottom bucket shirt, it costs about £2,000 all them players as well. It's incredible. But this club, Quentin, you've been associated with this club for such a long time now. Can you just tell us through how you initially signed for him and how he came about being a Sheffield Eagles player?
Yeah, so I was playing in Australia in the Queensland Cup. So I was playing for South Logan, and our assistant coach, his name's Carl Briggs. I think he knows Tubbs. That I think they used to play together. So he just asked me if I wanted to come over and try play in England, and I said yeah. And he said he knew a contact there, and it was Tubbs. So I needed to play international before I qualified to come over. Ended up playing for Samoa 2010, and that's how I got my gig to come over here. And like I said before, we only planned to come for 2 years and then go back home, but I think the way that the club made us feel like home, they welcomed my family. The group at the time, massive part of that goes to Tubbs and the family as well. So I ended up staying for another 6 years and ended up going all parts of the rugby league community around the UK, and I'm coming back. But my dream was to come in and play Super League, try and play Super League. Tubbs had sold me a dream about Sheffield one day going to Super League, and that's why I came over.
Nice story that as well, and you can kind of see how much the club does mean to you, Quentin, as well. Every time I've ever spoken to you, I love how proud you are of your roots. Did you ever think that all them years ago growing up, you'd end up in Sheffield with a Yorkshire accent?
Nah, mate.
Yeah, that's not bad, that. You've worked well on that.
Nah, yeah, I don't. All my kids have the accents, but never in my wildest dreams I think I would have thought I'll come here and I'll raise my family here. But man, I love England. Obviously the weather a bit shy. Other than that, yeah.
Stop show tonight, Q once again. What an absolute legend. Put your hands together, please. Tori, you're looking a little bit nervous. I've seen you go on that pitch. You're not nervous when you cross that whitewash. Just got to ask you about. I can see how proud you are to sit on this panel tonight, and rightly so. You should be on here as well. Can you tell us a little bit about your love of rugby league and how you kind of got into playing this sport?
So I definitely did this already, very drunk at a presentation once. But so I played football, and then I definitely slagged football off for a while as well whilst drunk. But I played football, not a nice atmosphere, torn hamstring, had a long time out, and then needed a hobby over summer. Rocked up to a Eagles women's training session. I actually I couldn't see them, and I wouldn't get out of the car. Very anxious person. I'm like 22, 23 at this point. So my dad calls Andrea and he's like, can you go and get Tori? She's like sat in her car and she's too nervous. 22. So Andrea walks to my car and like knocks on my window and is like, do you want to like give it a go? So, obviously that is kind of the epitome of what I've felt since I've been here in terms of being welcomed, and also just the atmosphere across the entirety of the club is just something I've not known before, across from the LD to the helping with the girls to being at the men's matches is what's really helped kind of seal the rugby deal, I guess. But the sport itself is just I don't know, weird, crazy, but yeah, amazing. I love it so much.
I love the fact that you got out of your car. It was a good decision that you've done so well, Tori.
She literally would have pulled me out, I think, at that point. So
probably, yeah. Do you know? I think it's tough times for our sport at the moment. It has been for the last few years, and I think one real positive for our sport is the growth of the women's game. To see it getting national exposure, the Women's Challenge Cup final taking place at Wembley for the last 2 years, it makes you feel really proud. You've been part of that progress. I think the fact that to see the women's game developing so good, I think it's a massive plus for our sport.
It is, yeah, and I think that it would be silly to say we're done, because there's a lot to figure out still. They're still kind of realistically working out the leagues and stuff like that. We're all at very different places, but you know, we've had the opportunity to get involved with a lot of the York girls this year, and the gap isn't as big as what we used to have. So it's great, the progress, but we're not where we need to be. So there's a lot more to be done, but it's definitely in the right direction.
I think it's one of them, isn't it? As a player and being part of a group, you want to have a dream, and the dream probably is Super League, and you never know in years to come. You look what this club's achieved when they won the Challenge Cup final against Wigan, and maybe, just maybe, the women might.
I was actually telling the story, I don't know if anyone went to the, we played York in the Challenge Cup, which we always knew was going to be a whitewash, but we scored first, and those like 2 minutes, the first 2 minutes of the game, was like the best moment of my entire life. We were like superheroes, and then we got done like 76-4 or something, but like we scored first, and it was like, oh my god, like we were at the old team, we were like, we just scored against York, it was like insane.
I enjoy every moment, and I just want to mention, I think for Women's Rugby League now, you watch Sky Sports and you're seeing all the people on there, Danica Prim, Jodie Cunningham, they're all actually becoming, 10 years ago you probably wouldn't, if someone said name some top women rugby league players, you wouldn't be able to do it. I think they're all kind of becoming household names now, which is it's unbelievable.
It is, yeah, and like I said, the relationship we've had with York this season has been great for that. So Lisa Parker, one of our girls, she's had some really great opportunities with them. And it shows that gap's not quite where it used to be, and that if we keep building, then in a few years' time you don't know where we'll be as a club, as a team.
Keep doing what you're doing. I've loved chatting to you there as well. Put your hands together, please. Really. Absolutely brilliant. Right, I'm going to move on to the next guy. I've known this guy a long time. I've loved watching his career. Cory, thanks for joining us tonight. Your association with this club, it goes back so long. I want to take you back to the early days as a kid, running on the pitch at Don Valley and just kicking ball while you were a kid. Did you dream at that point of following in your dad's footsteps and playing for Sheffield Eagles?
Yeah, I probably did, to be honest. That's pretty much all I wanted to do growing up. Obviously, been at Don Valley, I'll be on the pitch after every game, and back then they used to make kicking tees out of sand, and I used to collect all the sand up and make my own kicking tee to kick through the first back then, and and then obviously progressing through the academy was brilliant, and some of my coaches here who coached me throughout the academy as well, in Gav Brown, Andrew Henderson, Jack, so that just shows how the club develops through the players that have played and become legends, gone on to coach players to come through the system as well, so that's been a massive positive for me for the club, and how many players they've actually produced, and some of my close mates now are out playing. They might not play in Sheffield, but they're playing rugby league at the highest level possible, and for a kid from Sheffield like myself and other kids from Sheffield, you never kind of thought that was possible, not being a Sheffield town, a rugby league town and things like that. It's pretty special to have so many kids out there that have played at professional level from Sheffield.
It's an amazing story, horse Cory, as well. Did you ever think that as that kid, running on the pitch, messing about, did you ever think that as a 5-year-old kid you'd end up playing in the same team as Quentin Laulu Togaga'e at 53 years old?
Yeah. Well, no, I was just talking about that before. It's funny when you talk to people and they're like, I don't know, like Endo, for instance, is coaching at a different club and things, and then someone's talking about it and I'm like, yeah, I actually played with Endo, like for a year, and they're like, what? So it is quite strange when, you grow up watching players and being fans of players, and like Q grow watching Q and babysitting Phoenix actually, and now I've played against him and things like that, so yeah, it's actually, it's pretty strange, but yeah, it creates special memories as well.
Thanks, Cory. I mentioned about Thax. I'm from Halifax, I used to watch Thax playing for Halifax. You came to Halifax and you played for Halifax. So I always thought you were a great player, but I think since you left and you came back to Sheffield, I don't know what it is, I think your game's almost stepped up. Why do you think that is? Do you think this almost feels like home to you?
Well, I didn't like it, Halifax.
No, I can sense that.
No, yeah, it is home to me, and you know, when you're happy and you're smiling, you play your best rugby, and that's how it's been for the last couple of years. You know, I've been happy, I've been enjoying it. Got a great group of lads. They all believe in me. I believe in them, and that's when you play your best rugby.
What kind of, when you come back, how would it change when you come back? Because like I say, I think you played better when you came back the second time.
Yeah, well, when I first was playing Sheffield, I was still a young kid. I'd probably played nearly 100 games, but I was only probably about 21, 22. And then I got an opportunity to go around and experience a lot of different things. And Gary signed me to Leeds, so that's another connection there. And then I went to Castle Powley as well. So, and then I went down to London and to Halifax, as you mentioned. So I managed to go out, and you know, it could have been easy just to stay at Sheffield my whole career, and I wouldn't have probably experienced anything else. So that's probably improved my game, and not just having my dad as my coach and having my own opinions on how I've done things with other coaches and stuff, and having my own view on the game as well, and that's definitely improved my game.
It must be strange having your dad coaching throughout your career, but what a player and what an influence he's been on you.
Yeah. It was always pretty challenging as a young kid going into the team as your dad being the coach, because I've gone from just being at training and being known as the coach's son to then having to kind of, as a half, direct the players around and getting that respect for them. So that was always pretty challenging, but I've got to say a massive thanks to QB, because I had a good relationship with him and Missy and people like that, and they all automatically give me the respect. A few other players it was a little bit challenging with and things like that, and then me having to tell them what to do, and they just kind of view me as a coach's son. But like as I got older and I developed and I built that confidence, that was that did help. But yeah, you know, playing here, like I say, it's a family club, and for me, when you think Sheffield Eagles, you kind of think of the Aston name as well. So yeah.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah. Well, I've got to mention this guy. I think he's obviously become a Sheffield Eagles legend, and I think one of the most talented players I've seen. You must have learned so much from Thax over the years.
Yeah. Well, I actually played when I was on loan out at first, and I actually played with Thax then. And obviously, like I say, he seemed like he was a much older player then, and it's 10 years on, and I'm still playing with him, so it's quite strange, really. But no, he's an absolutely quality player, and how he plays the game now to 15, how many years? 17 years? Yeah, he's still playing the game the same, so yeah, it's absolutely class. And I think you didn't mention it, but Thax messaged me on Facebook saying, is your dad needing a half for next year? And I kind of just connected it up there, I think, so I'm kind of due a bit of compensation for that, maybe, I don't know. Not due. So yeah.
Thax, was you? I need to bring you in here, mate. Tapping everyone up.
It's tough tapping me up.
Right, we'll move on. Cory, thanks for coming up on stage as well. An absolute legend. So good to see you. Put your hands up, mate, for Cory. And the last one, David, Mr. Sheffield Eagles yourself. I'm going to say a little bit about you. You've had a long association with Sheffield Eagles, having worked for them from 2003 to 2007. What keeps bringing you back to the club, and what makes it so special for you, this role?
Well, I think when you listen to everybody who's spoken on all three panels tonight, whenever they've referenced the club, they've said we, whether they're involved with the club now or they've had, obviously been there in the past. And I think, it's that we, it's that family, it pulls you back to the centre. So I had 5 great years working here, and then went on to pastures new, and I've experienced loads of things in sport and rugby league. But it's almost like this little homing beacon goes off and says, we all started something. If you listen to his dad long enough, you get brainwashed by him, and a lot of people all know that. And we keep talking about developing local players and local players playing for Sheffield and all of that. And the opportunity came up to get back involved with the foundation a few years ago and help out and give something back to a game that's been great to me, and I jumped at the chance, and yeah, it's been pretty good.
And you've gone all in on it, David, as well. You've done so much good stuff as well. I spoke a lot about tonight how proud people are to be involved in this club. Something you got involved in as founding member of the wheelchair rugby league team as well. Speak about proud moments. That's something that is pretty amazing, really.
Yeah, I mean, one of the aims for setting up the wheelchair team was that we wanted people, regardless of their ability or competence in sport, to be able to pull on the Sheffield Eagles jersey. If you look at the women on the screen there winning their grand final, they're wearing the same shirt as the men wore on the wheelchair team wore that year, and later on we've launched a learning disability team and a physical disability team as well. But yeah, got quite involved in the setup of the wheelchair team, went to the first session. You know how it goes, we didn't have enough players, there wasn't really anybody to coach early doors, so I got quite involved, and we played the first game at the end of 21, we went all through 22, we didn't win a single game, a couple of players over there, and we did it tough. We got some real shellackings, and you know, like Tori was saying, we'd celebrate just scoring a penalty or that. We celebrated some nils actually, it was that bad. And we got to the end of 22 and we played Wigan away. They said, we'll have a friendly against you, we'll just play all our players. And I think the game lasted about 250 minutes because the referees were trying to engineer a draw for us, and we just kept trading conversions and things and knocking it on and things. So we started 2023 with a bit of you can't say spring in your step in a wheelchair game, but a bit of air in your tyres. And
well, you can.
Well, you can. I can get away with it, can't I? But bit more air in the tyres. We went away to Wakefield. We beat them at their place, and we went to the Wheelchair Rugby League Awards night that night, and they presented us with Club of the Year. And we all looked at each other in a bit of disbelief. You know, why are they giving us Club of the Year? We didn't win anything in 22, we didn't do anything, but at the time it turned out that we had the biggest club in terms of participation. We were doing all the right things, and you know, we went through last year, finished middle of the league. We played in the Challenge Trophy final. We had a great following from Sheffield. It was at the EIS. There must have been 200 odd people came from the club and supported us. Tubbs came in the morning, presented us all our shirts, and again, as the women have got on their shirts, they're embroidered for the final, and that's probably one of the... I've got a few shirts from various things in the game. I've never achieved anything like any of the people that we've heard of on the stage, but that's up there with you know, some of my best sporting mementos. So, you know, this year we're playing Bradford on Saturday. If we win that, I think York need to beat us by about 500 points the following week, otherwise we've won the league, and it's a huge turnaround.
I'm going to bring things to a close shortly now. David, just in kind of finishing, you've been a big part of this club for a long time, 40 years this club has had. How do you see the future? Because I know you play a big part in that with the club and the foundation as well.
Well, before I get to that, Pete, I just want to say thank you very much to Richard King, who has been instrumental in not only delivering this evening, but the Heritage Project over the last 2 years, or 2.5 years actually. Richard's been driving the project through. We've won an award with Sporting Heritage, and as things come to an end at the end of this month, I think, and Richard will move on, and we'll deal with that at the awards night maybe, but I think we'll realise that we're perhaps missing something with Richard not here. So if you don't know him, he won't stand up and wave because he is shy, but he's sat over there somewhere in the back. So give him a round. Although I have told him he's not allowed to leave, so we'll deal with that. But what does the future hold? This project that we're sort of coming to the end to is actually called Against the Odds, and Gary and Kath have talked early on about the challenges they faced, and Ian in the sort of second era touched on that, and in many ways we still battle against the odds. We're in a football city, we're doing it tough, there's always a new speed hump in the road for us to deal with, and you know what we need is more fans, more sponsors, more bums on seats, more shirts sold, and we've just got to keep doing more of that. But the future's really bright. On Sunday, we're going to have 2 teams playing wheelchair, 2 teams playing women. We've got the learning disability team playing, the physical disability team playing, and then obviously the men are going to play against Bradford. And we're going to continue that momentum going forward. Hendo mentioned the stadium earlier. That's currently going through planning permission as well, and that will be a phenomenal asset for both this club and for Sheffield FC, and finally give us a real platform that we can move forward on. So it's not easy. The roads to Meadowhead aren't paved with gold or anything like that. We're still going to have to work hard. But I think what we've heard over the course of the evening is this club has battled hard for 40 years, and if we need to battle hard for the next 40, then in good hands with everybody in this room, we will do that.
You certainly will. Thanks so much for joining us. Tell you what, we had a lot to fit in tonight, but I think from the first moment when Gary Etherington got up and spoke about the club's first ever game, whether we were going ahead or not, I think what the club's achieved in that 40 years since. I think when you hear David talk about the physical disability rugby league team, the learning disability rugby league team, the women's team, the men's team, it just shows you Sheffield Eagles is much more than a rugby team. Thank you so much for everyone for coming up. We really appreciate the time as well. Thanks guys.